It always started the same way. The room was always dark, but far off there was the sound of water dripping somewhere in the distance. Although he had never seen what surrounded him, Timothy had always believed he was in a cave somewhere. Although it was only a dream, a lucid and vivid one that felt all too real, Timothy could almost smell the dampness in the air. The dripping sound continued off in the distance, and while he could hear that, he felt calm. It was impossible for him to say how many nights he had found himself dragged from another dream into this pitch-black place. The first time, he had woken quickly from the dream, drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. Now, however, he had stayed longer and longer until new things happened and the dream evolved into something else. What started as a dream of darkness had soon become a nightmare he was now all too familiar with. Timothy Scott had been having the same recurring dream for the last 4 years, and with every year it had got worse and worse. When he had first ventured into the dark and seen what hid in there, he had refused to sleep for days. His parents had tried everything to comfort him, but at 9, there had been nothing they could do to calm him. Now, however, the dream had become almost familiar. It changed nothing about the terror that had brewed in his stomach, but with each exposure it had become a more expected experience than a terrifying, inescapable nightmare. Timothy had convinced himself, even in his slumber, that it was just a dream, and he would at some point wake. Yet, today felt different. The dripping water faded, and the sound of light footfalls started. Distant at first, he knew what to expect, even if he didn't know who was coming. He knew what was coming. The footsteps grew louder, nearer, and as it did, the air grew colder, and his breath condensed in front of his face. Timothy felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, and he knew he wasn't alone. "You come back again?" The voice was only just above a whisper. Laced with a sinister hush, he searched the darkness for the source. Timothy could pinpoint nothing as the voice spoke again, this time somewhere close behind him. "I see you walking in the dark, blind as always." Timothy spun, but could still see nothing. "Who are you?" He tried to ask, but his voice caught in his throat, and his mouth moved without making a sound. It was always the same feeling. No matter how hard he tried, he could not speak. Timothy tried to talk, then shout and scream, but he never made a sound. When he was silent, unable to speak or communicate, was when the panic would set in. His heart would race, and the world would feel it was closing in on him. Tonight was no different. The panic began to simmer, and the darkness felt like it was closing in on him, wrapping around him like an unseen fog. "You will never escape me, never escape this place," the eerie voice hissed. "You are destined to remain in the dark forever." The eyes, burning like fire red in front of him, he could make out the snake-like slit pupils and nothing else. They appeared inches from his face, and he always tried to pull away. But something held him in place. Unable to escape the burning fire eyes, Timothy could only stare as the voice continued to goad him. "I see into your soul. You are not part of him. Stay safe where you are. If you come to me, it will be your end."